So what skill are we covering today? Well, 1v1 soccer drills and 3 easy steps to ensure that you're gonna win anytime you have to do a 1v1, whether that be in a practice or in a soccer game. When you're in a 1v1, there's 3 things that you wanna make sure you're focusing on. First thing is that you wanna make sure you're gonna do a skill. And a skill is very good to buy yourself space. You're trying to get them to believe that you're going in the wrong direction, they step in that direction, and that opens up space in the direction you actually want to go. The second thing, and the more important thing, is to attack with speed. After you do that skill, or even if you didn't do that skill, you gotta attack with speed. You gotta be able to get by that defender and explode by them. And that third thing is you want to aim to use your dominant foot. You're better with that dominant foot, so don't be afraid to try to use that more often than not, depending on the game situation. So in a 1v1, you wanna make sure that you're focusing on using a foot skill first. So a lot of players will first look to pass that ball, which is good. You want to do that as well, and if you got a better pass to be made, then absolutely make it. But don't just pass the ball just to get rid of it from underneath your feet. You want to be able to attack a defender. You want to be confident enough and know exactly the steps and what to do when attacking that defender. And secondly, a lot of players will just try to push by and not even use the skill, just push by and try to beat them on speed alone. And you might win if you're the fastest player out on the field, but oftentimes they're going to be able to be closer to the ball when you actually push and start to run, and they're going to be able to use their arms to stop you from going too quickly. So it's so important that when you use a foot skill, what you're really trying to do is buy space. On this one, it also buys time, because if you're buying space, you get them to fake in the wrong direction, their body stops going one way, and notice how a lot of space to the other direction opens up. So you've got to make sure with those 1v1 skills that you're really focusing on selling it, making it believable that you're going in one direction. Now, I'll link here a video that I want you to watch on the big 3 soccer skills. One of them is great for when that defender's reaching in, another one when that defender's backpedaling, and another one is anytime you're on the field anywhere and you want to get that defender to bite, it's great to use. So make sure, it's so important that you are creating space when you need to push that ball and do that second step, which is attack with speed. So that second point, so important, is that you've got to attack with speed. I'm talking must. There's a general rule of thumb that I use with all my trainees, and that's anytime you're doing a run, you're trying to dribble, you do not want to have to beat that same defender twice. If you do, that's telling me that you are not using your speed enough. So anytime you do a skill, you've got to commit to doing that skill, and you've got to commit to exploding by them. Now, depending on how much space they have behind them determines how big your push is, which determines ultimately how fast you can run. However, you gotta explode by them because it creates more space between you and that defender, and it buys you more time to do whatever you need to do, and that means dribble or shoot or pass or even see where the goalie is so you can make your next decision. And that's why you've gotta explode. You've gotta get by him. Use your speed. Don't be afraid to sprint. If you make a mistake, that's fine. You shouldn't be a defender or the center back that's trying to do one of these foot steals. You're a midfielder, you go forward, you got more people behind you. Definitely great to practice in practice so you can come and become more comfortable with using this in a game. So keep that in mind. Gotta explode after the skill. That means get on your horse, get on the balls of your feet, get on the portion of your foot that's closest to your toes, and you've got to sprint and accelerate away. Goalkeepers will often creep up the field and out of their net because they realize that a forward is trained to beat a defender and has a pretty good chance of winning the 1v1 battle against the defender. This frees the attacker to have a shot or dribble towards the net, so the goalie will want to come out a little bit to cut down the angle of the shot. If the goalkeeper is standing square in the middle of the net, when the striker shoots, there's very little chance that they will save shots that are close to either of the posts. However, if the goalie comes out and cuts the angle off, they are limiting the amount of net into which the striker can shoot. The speed after the skill is critical to create the space and separation between you and the defender, and to make it so the keeper can't come out as far from the net to cut off your angle. Lastly, point 3 is whenever you have a 1v1 situation while attacking towards the other team's net, your goal should be to take your shot with your dominant foot. Obviously, the foot you're more comfortable using will provide a more accurate and powerful shot on target compared to a shot with your opposite foot. In a 1v1, because only one person is defending you, a good striker should be able to go in the direction that he or she wants. Therefore, if you're right-footed, practice those left-footed jab steps, or those shoulder jabs, fake and takes, whatever you want to call them, and to ensure the ball ends up on your right foot when you go to shoot. So in the comments below, let me know what your favorite 1v1 skill is to use. And when I ask that question, if, oh crap, I don't have a favorite, then make sure to click on this video here, which is the big 3 soccer skills, so that you know the 3 major skills that you should be using in a 1v1 depending on what the defender does. So that first thing you want to avoid is being too small. So what I mean by that is when you're going and attacking, you don't want to not use your arms. Your arms are important because guess what? That defender is surely going to put their arms in front of you, arms on you, try to slow you down, throw you a little bit off balance, push you when you're shooting. That's what they're going to do. So don't be afraid to use your arms to fight back a little bit. One thing I always teach my trainees is anytime someone else puts that arm on you, they literally take their hand, they put it on you, you should be coming through and chopping that hand away. So imagine they come through and they're putting their hand on me. So imagine they're putting their hand on me. I'm coming through and I'm going down as hard as I can, chopping that hand away to teach them that that is not appropriate. That is not okay. Do not touch me in this game because I'm going to beat you. I am better than you, and you're letting them know that you have a ton of confidence. If they can put their hands all over you, they know, mindset-wise, they know, all right, this guy, this girl is going to be so easy to cover. They're not going to stick up for themselves. They're going to be a cakewalk. It's going to be so fun to cover them because they're not going to do anything. You start being aggressive. You start chopping their arm away. You start telling them that, hey, watch out. It's going to make it so that they're even a little bit more scared, which is going to make it even a little bit easier for you to get by them. And that second thing I want you to avoid, and this is the opposite of that second thing that we talked about, that second step, and that is you got to avoid jogging by the defender. Okay, you've got to make sure that after you do the skill, you explode. Even if you don't do the skill, you got to explode. You got to sprint. Okay, if you're not the fastest runner, that's okay. That's why we do the skill, to buy us more space, which buys us more time. So focus on your skills so that you can create more space so that even if you're not the fastest, like me, you still have enough time to be able to explode by that defender. So that third thing I want you to avoid is avoid using your dominant foot 100% of the time to shoot, because on occasion, the defender will be letting you go to your weak foot by completely cutting off your path up the field towards your dominant foot. In a situation where the defender gives you a lot of space to your weak foot, take it, because you'll be able to push well past the defender to ensure that you can take a shot with your opposite foot. Since you will have much more space than going to your dominant foot, it will be easier for you to take a powerful and well-driven shot on target when you go to strike the ball. Otherwise, if you're super uncomfortable using that opposite foot, I don't recommend compensating by not going in that direction. However, if you're super adamant about going only to one foot, something that I really don't recommend, then what you can do is focus on using that jab step, that shoulder drop, that fake and take, or maybe an inside of the foot shot fake to help create space to enable you to travel to your dominant foot. Also, consider if you've gone against the defender already in the game. Use the information on what makes your opponent uncomfortable, what worked, and what you think may work to increase your chance of beating them. So, given that this is a video on things that you can do, 1v1 soccer drills that you can do to improve your ability to attack in a 1v1, we're going to go over 3 soccer drills today that will take you in transition from going and just attacking cones, being comfortable enough using a skill and exploding by with speed, then transitioning to actually beating a defender, then transitioning to beating a defender and actually being able to put the ball into the net. So let's start with that first one here, and that's simply put down 2 or 3 cones and you're going to be working on attacking them. Now, in a game, your defender is either backpedaling and they're jockeying, waiting for you to act, and then they're going to react, or they are acting and they are reaching in for that ball and you've got to react and get the ball out of the way. So what I want you to do is do that jab step that I described more in the video on how to do a jab step that I'll link to, and that's simply pretending to take it one way as they're backpedaling, pretend to take it one way, push and explode out at speed in the opposite direction. And I'm talking really explode. And that second thing that we can do here is as they're reaching in, anytime a defender's reaching in, we need to get the ball out of the way. So that means doing a self pass to where I'm passing wide and attacking forward. Again, I'll link to that video as well. Make sure that you're clicking on these videos if you haven't seen them already, so you understand how to do these very important 2 of the big 3 soccer skills. So now, big thing. With these cones, remember, there's no actual defender, so you got to do this at speed. You got to make it game-like, because in the next drill, you're going to actually be going up against a defender. So with this, again, huge important things is as you're doing this, attacking, making sure that you're really exploding out at speed, that you're really attacking that defender and creating space with your foot skill so that you can create time with your touch. So the next thing I want you to do to practice that second drill, that's get a defender and go to the field. In the 18-yard box, and we're talking the long ways, not the short ways at the top of the 18 to the goal line, we're talking from one side of it to the other, I want you to work on attacking that defender. So you bring a defender or a friend, maybe they're another attacker, and you both want to defend and attack and switch off and on. that's great. Otherwise, try to get a defender so they'll defend the entire time. You'll improve their skills. You can ask them what they're doing to stop you so you can learn from it. And then you can also tell them what you're doing to beat them so they can learn from it. Help your teammate out, help your friends out, but attack from one side of the 18 to the other. If you get from one side of the 18 to the other, you get a point. If they stop you, poke the ball away, dispossess you, then they get a point. Now, as you improve your skills and you get more consistent at beating them, then move inside the 6-yard box. It gets a lot more compact. It's going to make you a lot stronger of an attacker with having that deliberate practice of constantly making the situation harder so that you can constantly grow and grow. So that second thing we went over was that next step. Now we're not attacking the cones, we're actually attacking a player. So we're getting more game-like, more real life with the experience. Now this next one, we've got to add that step of actually getting the ball in the back of the net. So what we're going to do is start basically at, like, let's call it the 20-25 yard line. So we're going to be outside that 18-yard box and we're going to be going and attacking that defender. Now what I want you to do is take cones and I want you to put one cone 1 yard away from the post, but towards the inside of the net, and then do the same thing on the other post. 1 yard in, play another cone down. So there is 2 yards of space where if you get between the post and the cone on either side, you get a point. If you shoot and it goes inside the 2 cones, so it would be like to the keeper, then you don't get a point, defender doesn't get a point. Or if it goes wide, you don't get a point, defender doesn't get a point. However, if the defender dispossesses you of the ball or pokes it away, they get a point. So you can play a little game to where you're trying to get points, and anytime you get it between the post and the cone, you get points. Anytime the defender stops you, they get points. And anytime that your shot is just bad, neither of you get points because they let you by to shoot, but your shot wasn't very good, so you shouldn't be rewarded either. As a reminder, make sure to stick around to the end of this video for that pro tip you've been waiting for. If you want to learn more about what to do in a 1v1, 2v1, 2v2, and 1v2, then grab the second book in the Understand Soccer series, Soccer Shooting and Finishing, today on Amazon.com using the link in the description below. So for that pro tip you waited around for, and this is an important one. This was a huge mindset shift that once I did, I scored way more goals. So now, one big question I always ask a lot of my trainees, and that is, how much space do you need in order to get a shot off? And you'll always have that 1 or 2 kids that answer it correctly, and they're saying about this much space. And I say, why? And they say, well, coach, that's how big the ball is. I just need enough space to get the ball by the defender. And that's absolutely correct. For the longest time, I thought, if this were the defender, I thought I'd have to get completely past them to have enough time and space in order to take a shot on net. And that's silly. That made it so I took so few shots that I couldn't score. I barely scored because I didn't have enough opportunities to score. So that's another pro tip. The more shots you take, the more goals you're going to get, because you have more opportunities for success. So that one's huge as well. But now, with this, you don't need to be completely past that defender. All you need to do is have enough space for this ball to be able to get by their foot so you can take a shot. So increase the volume of your shots. Be very confident in shooting if you just have this much space, because this is all you need to take your game to the next level and to succeed way more often in those 1v1s.